So yeah, some of the more obvious options for an A2 license, you got obviously things like the Ninja 300, Ninja 400, you got the R3, these are obviously just the sport bikes. For the nakeds, you've obviously got like restricted MT-07, restricted FB650. Yeah, so why did I choose this over them? So when I was shopping for bikes, in the lead up to me getting my A2 license, and just looking at what the options are and things like that, I was really keen on the Ninja 300. So I decided to go to my nearest Kawasaki dealer. This is about 15 miles, 20 miles away. It took a half an hour train ride there. My girlfriend came with me, being a good sport and all that. And yeah, I sat on it. It felt like relatively comfortable, but it did feel a little small, to be honest, for my my 6-foot self. And yeah, so yeah, as I say, it felt just a bit small, and I don't know. The Ninja 400 was just about to come out at this time, so I kind of changed my focus to that. You know, just a bit more powerful, hoping it was maybe a little bit physically bigger. After that came out, I did some research on it. Found out it wasn't actually that much. It wasn't that much bigger physically, so I was like, oh, it's not really going to fit that great. Yeah, so I decided to sort of start looking for bikes that would, one, have enough power to carry someone as big as me. I'm making out like I'm an absolute giant here. I'm just a little bit above average at 6 foot, but but yeah, so I started looking into sort of bigger CC bikes that could be restricted to on an A2 license. So the MT-07 was a very popular choice I saw for the A2 license for people. One of my friends actually has an MT-07, so I actually had a go at one. This was about the time that I was thinking of actually getting one, because it seemed like a good fucking hell. Yeah, it seemed like a good option. As I was thinking, oh, I could keep the bike after I've got my full license as well and just unrestrict it. Jesus, the potholes in these roads. Fucking hell. Feels like I'm riding on a cheese grater. Yeah, so I had a test ride on my friend's MT-07. I did like it. It was comfortable. It felt tall enough. It's got quite a high seat height. But shortly after, I actually did my actually passed my A2 test, and that was on an SV650, like the newer naked versions. And I know, like, I failed on one of my attempts because I wasn't going fast enough. But it felt like I was going so fast because of the wind, I guess. Lots of bikers out today. But yeah, it felt so fast, and just so much wind was just pounding my chest. And then that was pretty much the point that I decided for the riding that I want to do, which is not a long distance, but you know, I usually go in the summer maybe a couple 100 miles at a time, you know, a full day sort of thing. And for that sort of riding, I wanted something that would keep the wind off of me, at least a little bit. So I went back to thinking about sport bikes again, and to be honest, there doesn't seem to be that many A2 compliant, well, I would say sport bikes that you can restrict on an A2 license. And I already knew the Ninja 300, Ninja 400 wasn't really an option anymore. The R3 to me was never really an option. I'm just not a big fan of the looks of it. That's just personal preference. I don't know, and I didn't see what it had over the Ninja. I've heard it's also kind of like a similar sort of physical size. And then I was thinking about, you know, the big four. What bikes do they do that would be good for an A2? Suzuki, they didn't actually seem to do that much. As I say, the SV650, is a naked bike, and that's not what I was looking for. So I was thinking, what do Honda do? And you know, this bike, you'll probably know if you're looking into getting one of these. It's not really that spoken about, I would say, surprisingly. Like I kind of had to search for it to find it, if that makes sense. Like, it didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Yeah, it seemed, I was like, oh, I quite like the look of that. This was like the 2018 ones I was looking at. I noticed when I saw people, videos of people riding it, I was like, oh, that looks like looks like quite a big bike. It's 500 cc's, that'll be okay for A2. And then I saw they were bringing a new design out for it, which was in 2019, which is when I got this. And it just, in my opinion, just improved on the looks a little bit, and apparently the engine's tuned very, very slightly, so you get like a little bit more download grunt, I think. I doubt you could probably notice it in the real world, but so yeah, I started looking into this, what sort of price it would be, things like that, and it is a bit more expensive than the Ninja 400. Like, Kawasaki do really good finance deals, like 0% quite often on their new bikes. So there was quite a few tempting deals there, but yeah, so I decided to go into the Honda dealership, test out, or not test out, but sit on this bike. Yeah, it felt bigger than the Ninja 300 that I sat on. I really love the looks of it. Obviously, I hadn't test ridden it at this point yet. At this point, I was also looking at the CBR500R, which is pretty much this bike, but an inline 4 and 650cc. It's also a little bit more expensive. So I kind of asked the dealer, what one would he get if he was in my position, and obviously as a salesman, there might be some bias. Like, he recommended the 500 because he said you can sort of ride it to its full potential. That is what I've heard, to be fair. But also, obviously, the 650 would have to be restricted. He was saying the inline 4 doesn't feel that good restricted. I guess he's tested it out or heard it from someone, but I was thinking from I'm a salesman myself. I would generally, if someone hasn't had that much credit before and they want to take out a loan, I would generally kind of edge them towards the lower option because they're more likely to pass for that. That could have been part of it, since the 500 is cheaper. I don't know even if I would have passed for a 650, but ultimately I think I made the right choice by buying this. I also test rode it. I think it was like a couple of weeks later after sitting on it, and my friend came through and we just rode through Dundee a little bit. Yeah, that's when I kind of knew, like, I really wanted this bike. It just felt smooth, just comfortable for like the slightly longer trips that I'd want to do, and still sporty enough. Well, my previous bike was a cruiser, so honestly anything was going to be sportier, but this is the style of bike that I wanted to have, so I can, do that style of riding a little bit more. So yeah, it ticked all the boxes for me. As I say, a big thing for me was it has to be physically big enough and comfortable. So those are the main reasons I got this bike. So physically bigger, in my opinion, it was the best looking out of the Ninja 400 and R3 Ninja 300. I needed the wind protection from a sport bike, and yeah, so it ticked all those boxes for me. And of course, as mentioned numerous times now, it's red. So yeah, that's why I bought the CBR500R over the other perhaps more obvious A2 options. Hope you enjoyed. I'm probably going to have another video coming out in the next week or so, since obviously the weather's getting better. I can go out, film more, and yeah, see you next time.